Hi everybody. I thought I wanted to show you something. Last 1.5 weeks I have been working on building my application in 64-bit. So until now I already decided I don't see any difference in speed because it's fast enough into 32-bit, so I keep it that way. Then I keep working with Borland C5. It sounds old, but I don't care. I can build Windows 10 applications in it. But it only has a 32-bit compiler. I needed to have access some APIs which were only available in 64-bit. So my idea was to build a thunking process which interfaces with 64 bits, and with RPC it communicate with a 32-bit main application. But I got a little bit enthusiastic, so I started to compile the whole application, which is about 30 million lines of code according to Borland. Executable size is currently what was it? 40 megabytes in 32-bit with Borland. But to compile it I needed to use another compiler, so I took Visual Studio. Of course you say, yeah, there's a newer version of it. Well, the newer version is unusable, completely unusable, because if I watch a black background with white lines for only 10 seconds, then first of all I cannot after 10 seconds I cannot still read anything on it. And if I turn away and look into my room, then suddenly my whole world consists of white lines, white horizontal lines. And if I watch it such a screen too long, then I get a really splitting headache. So I don't know how people do that, using applications with a black background and a white lines, write letters, because it's impossible. I don't get it. But there's so many in unbelievable things in this world, so let it be. As long as I can still use applications which are actually user friendly, in my opinion. Anyway, so I took Visual Studio and compiled it with it. Within 3 days I already had a build where I had some assembly code in it, but I used some stuff so it can build but not run. Now after a day I had the most important code, assembly code, ported to 64-bit, and in those 3 days I had before I fixed everything where, for instance, an integer is used to store a pointer, which is now 64-bit. Anyway, this is Visual Studio and it has a build. And while testing it, I mean, it's actually a pretty good idea to use 2 different building environments to find weak spots in your application, because I found a few and fixed them. But doing so, I've discovered that, okay, so first of all, I'm gonna show you later, Visual Studio is terribly slow, and actually has some things which are actually, take for instance, if I use capital letters in file names. If you edit the file in Visual Studio and save it, then it removes, and then all the letters are in small caps. I mean, man, don't touch my file names. By the way, it only happens if you have an exception and you edit the file while it started from the debugger and then save it. Then all the letters are converted to small caps. That is pretty annoying, and should not do that, because then I have to fix the file names again. Well, there are a lot of files in it, like this is DP3GPP, codec, ACS files, runtime libraries, animated files, I don't know what, CDDB, whatever, bitmap files. There's everything in this. Until now I've written about everything there is. So FTP server, client, whatever, map viewer, whatever, what do we have here? HTTP, HTML, so you can view websites. Basic tool, lower level tools for IP addresses and JDKey. This is the translator module, but also IC client. Storage, of course. I have abstracted the file streams from the native file streams with an own API. This is logic viewer. This is to edit state machines, etc. Mail client. This is a math client for my own MATLAB kind of application. Media codecs. Modbus client. More image files, MKV files, bitmap files, MRB, etc. Network API. Object files, reading and writing them. More runtime libraries, PCM and codec, whatever. Power management for my shell, processes for the task manager. QuickTime movies, RAR files, registry editor for the registry. I have also extracted the registry API into an own API, so low level can be or the native registry or also an XML file, for instance, that if you start the editor, it looks like you're editing in a registry, but it's actually an XML file, for instance, or JSON file. More picture images, security tools, serial I/O services, more images, sockets, low level, more custom controls, spreadsheet, editor, SVF to create flash image files and to read them. More tabs for the task manager, teletext viewer, images, low-level tools, torrent files, encodings, vector images, video capturing of image scanner, everything, zip files. I've been a very busy bee. Anyway, everything in 3 days I got it built. And this is the build of application. My whole philosophy of a user interface is that you should keep it as simple as possible. So if you remove this field, it looks like a little notepad, and it starts like a little notepad because it starts really fast. You cannot see it because we're now running it from Visual Studio, but if I do it from here, then look, it's there. No, it's not there. Yes, it is there. It's not there. I managed to start it up with a few tenths of milliseconds or so, and that's mostly because some things like shell icons takes a lot of time. But the thing is, I saw a difference in speed. So normally you don't see the difference in speed because fast is fast. I mean, it's hard to see, but I have an audio editor and I support peak files, but if there's no peak file, then the peak data, the peak is calculated, peak info is calculated from the raw data, and I have one file here. It's a test file. It's 1.2 gigabytes of size, and Well, let's first start this is the build from Borland. Hello Borland! Yes, I know Borland. See, and so this is a 32-bit version. I don't know whether you can see that on a camera, but if you look here, you see that's annoying star 32 in the task manager. Anyway, if you load that big file here and calculate the peak info, then it takes 13 seconds to scan through 1.2 gigabytes of data, which, well, yeah, well, it's a lot of data and you never know. And afterwards, well, this is a view which I built combined with peak info with the actually accessing the original file. So at this point onwards, I combine blocks of peak info into one peak, and then you zoom in, and then it starts to become more closer to the original samples of the peak data, the information, and then when you zoom in more, I start to access the original file again, and this is based on the waveform from the original file, and you can just go backward, forward, everywhere, and blah blah blah. And this is just real time, also in 32-bit, because I made this in original 32-bit. Yeah, so fast, yes. But then I run a test in the 64-bit build. And this is the 64-bit build. You can see the differences, not. And by coincidence, let's try to have a look if this works. Well, it worked, but what just happened? Let's see that again. Started. So, okay, I loaded, and the file is 1.2 gigabytes. I have 8 gigabytes in this machine, so that file is already cached in memory. You don't have to read it from the disk. So the only limitation is the speed of the memory, and probably whether you read it in 64-bit or not. So let's have a look again. I started. Whoop. 3, 2, pop. It takes 2 seconds. Remember the other one, 32-bit build? It only took. No, let's have a look. We started. Let's get a coffee. I don't need coffee. I already had a coffee. I have some tea and some cheese. Do you want to have some cheese? No. Okay. Oh, hey, still busy. Oh yeah. Well, we're there, and it says here almost 13 seconds. Same thing, same file, same source code. Only difference is. Okay, well, not there are two differences, of course. There's one difference is that it's 64-bit, and I assume that's the most important change, and also Visual Studio. Visual Studio optimizes probably a little bit better, but the main thing is difference is, of course, 64-bit, because my whole file stream module and also the whole waveform thing is everything I use. I use 64 bits for file position, so my API is natively 64-bit, and if you compile it in 32-bit, then of course the instructions are doubling, and also because 32-bit environment is stack based for calling parameters and 64-bit is register based calling parameters, that's also of course a big difference in speed. But this is pretty much, so 2 seconds compared to 30 seconds is 6 times faster. That's cool, and for the rest it just works. Of course it works. If I write software it works. Oh yeah. Anyway, but now, at first I thought this is going to be a disaster. When I first compiled the source code in Visual Studio, it turns out Visual Studio takes about 4 seconds per source code file. So if I start now a rebuild, full rebuild, just force a rebuild. Then assembly, okay, assembly is fast, you know. But then, ooh, one fell. Ooh, the next fell. Ooh, the next fell. And the next fell. And the next fell. And the next fell. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Almost 4 seconds per source code file. And I have a lot. So a full rebuild in Visual Studio takes an hour, 55 minutes or so. And that's unusable. Because during a day, sometimes I need to do a rebuild fully because I've changed something in the global header files and I cannot wait an hour. And I'm not used to waiting an hour because I have used Bolland for almost 20 years now. I bought this actually, so it's 20 years old. And if in Bolland you do a complete full rebuild, build, boop, 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 boop. Can you see these lines? Can you see this? It takes about half a second per file. That's 16 times 5, no, 12, 2 times 4, 2 times 6. Let's take 6 in Visual Studio it takes 3 seconds, and in Bolland it takes half a second per source code file. So 6 is 6 times faster. Yeah. So this takes about 10 minutes. So I can go away, grab a coffee, and that's not even 10 minutes. It's less than 10 minutes. I mean, I thought it was 5 minutes, but give or take 10 minutes or so. So I can go to get a coffee and get back, and the whole rebuild is finished. A full rebuild wasn't a problem for me, but it is a problem with Visual Studio because I cannot work with that. But luckily, I can develop the application in Bolland, edited it without the file name being changed if I save a file, and then get back once in a while to test it on 64-bit. But what I really was surprised that I always thought, well, it's not necessary to make a 64-bit build application. But in case of this audio editing, this is so cool. This is so... I can also run it, of course, like from here. Okay. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Visual Studio is so annoying. So when I start the rebuild, he completely deletes also the executable. And Bolland doesn't do that. Bolland only deletes the file if he actually starts to write a link file. So I don't have a build now for... Oh man, I don't like Visual Studio. Okay, I cannot demonstrate Visual Studio anymore because my executable has disappeared from the earth. But Bolland is still here. You see? The first version I made of this application was in 1998, and then it was 100 kilobytes, but it could only do nothing. It could open a file for binary editing, that's all. And then in 2010 I picked it up and started. This was 1 megabyte, and still it could not do so much because it was just a framework. But now it's becoming more mature and have a lot of tools inside. Also this one, a resource editor, for instance. Here, let's grab. Oh, this is also so cool. See, this is resource editor, but you can have an overview of all the dialogues in it. Yay, with previews. Ooh, so funny. Oh Or you can also open a executable using another viewer, for instance the executable info, and then you can see all the header file. This used to be available in Windows XP still with a quick view. It was called Quick View, and then you could see which modules were important and exported by an executable or DLL. For some reason Microsoft has removed it from Windows, but it was also very impossible to use because it was a bit kraken. If you just copy to executable, then it still didn't work, and you had to enter information in the registry to get it working. But now this is one of the tools I use mostly because I have all the information I need and it's very fast, so I can just go here to the Windows and type in kernel 32 and voila, my viewer starts with all the exports in the kernel. And you can just also, oh yeah, you could not copy paste the information in the quick view from Windows, but here you can. Oh yes, I'm good. And I have done so much work in this application, it's incredible. Anyway, so I started this video because of the